The end of the year is a perfect time to stop and reflect, and I mean both professionally and personally. And I actually approach professional and personal growth very differently, and I'll talk about the difference in this video and also the steps that I use for growing personally, because that's something I don't talk about a lot on this channel, but is just as important for having a well-rounded academic experience without being too distracted, but also ensuring that you're getting the most from life, from your current experience, but also how you can balance the PhD research world with personal growth. That's very important. Let's talk about that now. This video is brought to you by my newsletter. Go check it out at andrewstapleton.com.au/newsletter. I'll put a link in the description, but when you sign up, you'll get 5 emails over about 2 weeks from the tools I use, how to write the perfect abstract, and more. It's exclusive content only available for free on that newsletter, so go sign up. Okay, so how I approach personal and professional growth is almost polar opposites. You see, with professional growth, and I'm talking about PhD, research, business, whatever it is, I actually double down on the things that work. The growth comes from making sure you understand your growths, where you are having the most successes, and putting a lot more effort into those things. When I was doing my PhD, I took a moment at the end of the year to reflect and look at what was giving me 80% of my results. And typically it's about 20% of your efforts result in the majority of your results. And so professional development, whether or not it's, in a job, in a career, research or otherwise, comes from looking and analyzing what is working and putting more effort into that thing. Now, you do not want to dilute your efforts, particularly in a PhD or with research. Do not dilute your efforts over many other things. Now, I've got a video that talks about what you should do, talks you through the steps of a PhD, where I go through this in a lot more detail. So the next thing I want to talk about is personal development. Like, how do you grow as a person alongside your professional commitments as a PhD student, a researcher, a postdoc? It can be a tough balancing act, but personal and professional growth go hand in hand, and now you'll see how it is completely different to how I approach professional development. The end of the year is also a great time to reflect on your personal growth. Now, I understand that throughout a PhD and your research, masters even, it is not very easy to find time to grow personally, but it is very important to just find something that refreshes you. I've talked about it in my other videos, but finding something that's completely different, that inspires you in a different way, can really help bolster your professional work, your research work during your PhD, because it is a complete reset button. And so over the last few years, I have been kind of exploring different hobbies, different interests, growing personally as much as possible. And I've kind of now worked out a little formula for how that can work for, anyone. And I want to share that with you now. So the first thing to do is to explore, look at things online and be like, that's interesting. I often sort of come across new hobbies just by finding something that's gone a bit viral online, or something that just piques my interest on Reddit or YouTube, and I go, that's really interesting, I wonder how I can do that. Find inspiration wherever you can, and I think that's the first step in growing personally. The second thing is then to listen to the internal voices and what they're telling you. We have a load of assumptions about ourselves personally that we need to kind of bust through and destroy if we're going to grow personally. My favorite sort of thing that I was telling myself years ago was, I am a person who doesn't exercise. Exercise doesn't interest me. I'm not sporty. I don't do physical exercise. I used to boast that I didn't even run for the bus. And that was kind of holding me back from being healthy, from enjoying myself. So I actually sort of found something. I was inspired by friends who were running ultra marathons. And then my mind would flare up and be like, oh, that is not something you do. And this is the most challenging bit, is the next stage is to challenge your assumptions about yourself and those those thought patterns that are so ingrained that you've been telling yourself for years. So with running, I was like, wow, this is really inspiring. Like normal people that I know are running ultra marathons. And then my mind would go, well, that's not something you do. You just relax, chill out, don't worry about it. And I thought, no, this is a time to challenge. I'm clearly inspired. Clearly, this is something that I want to explore. Let's have a look. And it took me ages to actually go for my first run. I did the Couch to 5K. And another thing I saw recently is I saw portraits online. I was like, wow, they're incredible. I wonder if I can do those. The internal voices flare up and they say, hang on, that is not something you do. You're not very good at drawing. That's something other people do. And I think personal growth comes from listening to those voices and challenging them. And that's the really tough bit, because we have these narratives, these stories we tell ourselves throughout our entire lives that we need to challenge and we need to sort of like address if we're going to grow as people. And then after you've kind of challenged that assumption, it's about learning, it's about doing, it's about busting through those uncomfortable barriers where you are new at something, you're not very good at something, but you can learn. And I think that's where personal growth comes from. I find that the personal growth often feeds into kind of the confidence and the motivation you need for professional growth, whether it's your research or other ways. So yes, that's how I grow personally. So there we are. There's everything you need to know about growing professionally and personally as a PhD student, as a researcher, postdoc, and forward. I hope that me kind of explaining my personal development and growth program to you will help you in some way, because I think, yeah, challenging those narratives and those assumptions that you've ingrained in yourself over years is a great opportunity to grow, as long as you're inspired by something and you've got a purpose for sort of pushing through those barriers. And yeah, I think it's been a fantastic formula and recipe for my own personal growth, and I hope it can help you. Let me know in the comments what you think about that, and I shall see you in the next video.